Welcome to another night in the NBA. This is your 10-minute recap of the last night of NBA hoops, and there were 9 games today, in-season tournament games, the second in-season tournament night of the season, but the main topic of the night to me is Mark Williams. I want to talk about Mark Williams of the Charlotte Hornets in a game that realistically wasn't catching a lot of people's eyes. The Hornets are playing the Wizards, like who cares? It's a battle of two teams who very likely aren't going to make the playoffs if we're being realistic. The Hornets could make the play-in, I totally believe that, but making the playoffs seems like somewhat of an uphill battle. We'll see how good they look throughout the season, but Mark Williams looks like a monster right now. Finishes this game with 21 points and 24 rebounds. And in a flip from what it usually is, he had 15 offensive rebounds compared to 9 defensive rebounds. He was a monster on the offensive glass, gave this team so many second chances, and won this team the game. He was a plus 19, the largest plus minus of anyone on this Hornets team, and he was just overall phenomenal. No blocks in this game. He hasn't been quite the shot blocker that he was last season, but offensively, he looks like a completely different player in terms of how high level he is as a rim runner, as a roller off of screens. And, he'll shoot a little bit in like the kind of short range to mid range, but mostly it's around the rim, which is why he's shooting 83% from the field this season. He's been super efficient, and I've loved everything I've seen from him. I think the Hornets have a star at the center spot moving forward. I really love the pairing of LaMelo Ball and Mark Williams. They fit really well together, and Mark, as well as a bunch of other guys in the league, is one of the great young big man players that we have now. We have Wembanyama and Chet that came in this year. Then you have guys like Alperen Sengun, who's breaking out this season. You have Jalen Duren, who's been phenomenal. And Mark Williams, I think, should be in the conversation as those guys because he's been so good. Looking at his stats this season through 7 games, he's averaged 15 points, 8 rebounds, and he's shooting 83% from the field. He's been really good. I thought his stats were better than this, actually. I thought he was averaging 10 rebounds. Yes, he is. Okay, 8 games this season. Mark Williams is averaging 15.4 points, 9.9 rebounds, and 1.1 assists. And his field goal percentage has actually dipped a little bit, down to 72%, but still very good. He's an extremely impressive big man, and at 74% from the free throw line, that's fine. Like, it's not great, but in terms of big men, that's totally livable. You're not complaining with that level of scoring, with that level of efficiency at the line for a big man. And if the defense and the shot blocking comes back to what it was last year, I think it can take him to a completely different level. Because if you're the defense changing big man he was last year, because after he started getting minutes, the Hornets catapulted to one of the best defenses in the entire NBA. So if we get that back, if the Hornets look really great defensively and he's blocking shots all the time, that'll make him so valuable because he's been good offensively, 15 and 10, and if he's getting almost 2 blocks a game on top of that, that's an all-star. Those are Rudy Gobert type numbers, and just as good efficiency as he had all those seasons in Utah. So that could completely change everything about him and make him just a dominant player, which I'm excited for. I think he is a guy with a lot of upside and is showing it throughout this early stage of the season. But let's talk about some of the other guys in this game specifically. Let's not drone on about Mark too long, although Mark is the main topic and has been great and was even better in this game than he's been all season. But LaMelo Ball finishes with 25 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds, 2 steals. LaMelo's been really good over the past 3 games after kind of struggling efficiency-wise to start the season. I've really liked what I've seen from LaMelo. Then looking at some other guys, they got 27 from Gordon Hayward, 50% from the field. It was the best Gordon Hayward game of the season, I would say by far. 12 from Brandon Miller, who gets the start in this game, but not very efficient. 11 from PJ Washington, who also wasn't efficient. Both of those guys shot 33% or worse. But Nick Richards, the backup big man, 15 points, 6 rebounds, a steal, a block, and a perfect 5 of 5 from the field. So the front court, the big man spot, the center spot in Charlotte actually doesn't look that bad, and they hold the Wizards to a kind of fine offensive night. 48% from the field, 36% from three. But they did turn the ball over 15 times to the Hornets 9, and I mean the Hornets just play better than them this game, which is why they won. And it's a pretty tight rotation right now for Charlotte, only playing 9 guys. But I like it. I think they've looked good over the past couple games, despite not being like great record-wise at just 3-5. I think the Hornets clearly have a bright future with how LaMelo's looked, how Mark Williams has looked, and Brandon Miller's looked pretty good in stretches as well. I also think it's a good PJ Washington season. So the Hornets, despite the record, have shown a lot of bright spots to start the year, and that's something that they can be proud of. But now let's shoot around the league, look at all the other different outcomes, and just see what happened on this night in NBA action. So, in other action from around the NBA, we're just going to look at all the other 8 games from this in-season tournament night of play, and we'll start off with 76ers versus Pistons, a game the Sixers win 114-106, behind 29 points and 11 assists from Tyrese Maxey, and I believe Embiid had 33. So very good night from the duo in Philadelphia, who continue to look good to start the year. The two guys for Detroit that really stood out were Killian Hayes, who's been really good over the past couple 2-3 games, 23 points and 6 assists, and Asar Thompson once again was just doing everything for them. The Celtics beat the Nets 121-107, 28 points from Jaylen Brown, and the Nets without Cam Thomas, and I believe Ben Simmons didn't play. They just didn't have the offense in this game. Lonnie Walker with 20 points and 7 rebounds, but it just wasn't close to enough to keep up with the firepower of the Celtics. The Rockets beat the Pelicans 104-101 thanks to a massive clutch 3 from Fred VanVleet that really won them this game. Alperen Sengun continues his breakout season, 24 points and 8 rebounds, and the Rockets have now won 5 straight games to move to, I believe, a top 6 seed in the Western Conference. They've looked really good, and Ime Udoka is doing a great job. Brandon Ingram, 31 points and 6 rebounds, but the Pelicans just don't have a point guard, and it shows. The Jazz beat the Grizzlies 127-121 to push Memphis to 1-8 to start the season. Desmond Bane puts up 37 points and 8 assists, but in the end it's just not enough. Lowry has 26 and 7 for the Jazz in the victory. The Timberwolves beat the Spurs 117-110 to move to 6-2. They still continue to look like the best defensive team in the entire NBA, and this is the big Karl Towns game, who had been kind of struggling to start the year, honestly. But Karl Anthony Towns was really good tonight, 29 points and 12 rebounds. The T-Wolves didn't really stop Victor Wembanyama, who was really good in this game, but overall the Spurs didn't have enough to overcome the Wolves. But 29 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 blocks from Wemby, who again was solid. The Mavs beat the Clippers 144-126, kind of a dominant victory for Dallas, who moves to 7-2 to start the year. They've been really good. Luka Doncic, 44 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. The duo of Luka and Kyrie outscore the Big Four from the Clippers, and the James Harden era in LA goes to 0-3 as the Clippers clearly have some issues. The Lakers beat the Suns 122-119. LeBron has 32 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. Cam Reddish, I believe, has 17, shot 50% from from the field. Really a bounce back game after he missed a potential game winner in the last one, but Cam Reddish was great tonight. 38 points and 9 rebounds from Kevin Durant. After not playing for 5 years against each other, LeBron and KD, we've now gotten really good duels between the two of them in back-to-back games, which is awesome. And in the last game of the night, the Kings beat the Thunder 105-98. Kevin Huerter puts up 28 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 steals. The Thunder get 33 from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but as a team, they only shoot 23% from 3. They just couldn't get it going from downtown, and honestly, that lost them the game. The Kings weren't good shooting either, 27% from downtown and 42% from the field, but just an ugly offensive game that the Kings sneak out of and win. 24 points from Keegan Murray. They get a triple-double. A triple-double from Domantas Sabonis, who has 17 points, 13 rebounds, and 13 assists, has quietly been really good once again for the Kings to start the year. But as I always want to do, let's close up with the last segment, which is the top 5 performers of the night, according to the Real Sports app. So I just want to shout out on any given night who the best performers were. And now let's look at the top 5, starting off with number 1, which is Luka Doncic with 44 points, 6 made threes, and 81% from the field. And it was good for a 97% true shooting. It is the highest rated game of anyone so far this season. Desmond Bane finishes at number 2 with 37 points, 8 assists, and 7 made threes. Sabonis at 3 with his triple-double. LeBron James at 4 with 32, 11, and 6. And then rounding out the top 5 is Gordon Hayward with 27 points, 9 assists, and 5 rebounds in the Hornets win. But that'll do it for this night in the NBA. Another night in the NBA. Thanks for watching. Think about subscribing. I'm on the road to 12,000. I'm Herm. Have a good one.